It is win or go home for the Buffalo Bills the rest of the season with 5 games to go in the AFC race to get into the playoffs. Hi, everyone. I'm Brett McDurphy. Joined with me is my co-host, Sean Kula from the Red, White, and Bills. We are on Nickel City Mafia, where our family business is football, and we have a lot to get started with talking about today. But we have the first game, Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills, that we have to begin right after we hit our intro. What is up, Bills Mafia? Welcome back to another edition of the Red, White, and Ruthless, presented by Nickel City Mafia, where our family business is football. Joining me today is my co-host, Sean Kula of the Red, White, and Bills. Sean, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Excited to get to the game.
Man, I cannot wait for this one. We got to wait a little bit longer. Not a 1 o'clock game this week. Another 4:25 game, but then we have a couple of later games, and then we'll be back to the 1 o'clock schedule for our second to last game of the year. But we have some good games coming up. We talked about it off air, but we have a few games that we have to really talk about, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs. Then we have the Dallas Cowboys. And this is a win or go home situation for the Buffalo Bills each and every week. So we got to take it 1 week at a time. But before we get into that, don't forget, everyone, to hit that like button, drop a nickel on the subscribe button, and also don't forget to go on over to the Red, White, and Bills and Go Bills podcast. Smash a subscribe on the button there as well. But Sean, let's begin talking about this matchup for the Buffalo Bills against a team that we're very familiar with. Almost each and every year we get to play them, and it has been a fun matchup every single time. We've had a couple of games that were heartbreakers, but we've also had some good wins in the regular season. But let's begin by talking about the most important elephant in the room, which has been the Bills and how they've done, especially in the big moments each and every time they play. And how can the Bills get it right in the big moments of this game? So I want to begin with this topic because let's go back to last week and talk about the big moments that we saw from the Buffalo Bills and how they played in those big moments. And it seemed like we took a step back in those moments, and it's been that way throughout the whole entire course of the McDermott era. And I don't want to make the show negative whatsoever. I just want to talk about how can we get it right in these big moments for the Bills. So I will let you begin with this.
It's going to sound corny and it's kind of simple, but really believing in yourself, believing that you can do it, whether you want to trust in the defense or whether you put the ball in Josh's hand, whatever situation or scenario you find yourself in, actually believing it. Because you could McDermott might put his defense out there, like be conservative and still be, I don't know, or it's tough here, but truly believing in the people you have, then they'll believe as well. And because when you really look at it, is like when you look at the Eagles and the Chiefs, they were struggling just as bad as us, if not worse, but they're always getting it done. Yeah, part of it's coaching, but it can't just be all the time just us. You know what I mean? There's not 31 amazing coaches in the NFL, and you see bad teams be good teams too, like the Cardinals. The Cardinals have more wins against winning teams than the Dolphins, the Dallas Cowboys, the Detroit Lions, and the Buffalo Bills, etc. Maybe even the Chiefs as well. and they got 3 wins. They're 3-10, and they got more wins against winning teams than we do, and those other teams. So it's not just about coaching and stuff of that nature. It's really just instilling the message of, I don't care who's on the field, you guys are going to get it done, and we all believe in you from top to bottom, and it's going to get done here. And I'm sure they do believe in themselves, but that's one thing I'll put on leadership and coaching is whether you want to be conservative or not, stick to your guns and really believe in what you're doing. And I think that could go a long way. Simple as it sounds.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. I think that it comes down to the coaching staff and Sean McDermott believing in the players too. And that's one area that I think we've been struggling in is when the game's on the line, putting the trust in your players. And that goes for the offense as well as the defense. It seems like when it's the big moments, we decide to play conservative a little bit too much. And we need to really just let the players go out there and ball. That's what it comes down to. And
Right.
I think you're going to see a different team come out of this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think you're going to see Sean McDermott just let his players be themselves. And that's one thing that we really have to do is let our players be themselves. Go out there
Yeah.
and just get things done.
Yeah. When you look at the last game, he believed in his defense, but the Eagles game, but he let them give up everything up in front, to take away the big play. And then when it came down to the last minute, then he wanted to be aggressive, believing in your defense and your guys and telling them, okay, we're not going to play soft. We're not going to give them, we're going to give them nothing. So you're going to go out there. I'm going to call the defense like it's the first drive of the game, and you guys aren't going to let nothing up. And I believe that you won't. That's different than when you're playing a good quarterback. Because when you're playing prevent or you're backing off, you're giving them everything, hoping that they make a mistake, hoping they tip a pass for interception, hoping they drop a couple passes, hoping that you can get there in time and make tackles so they don't get a first down. When you're playing great teams, it just doesn't work all the time. So believing in your guys, you score, there's 2 minutes left in the game, you get your defense up and you say, hey, we're not going to let up one first down. It stops here, game's over after this. So I'm going to call the game like how I was calling it when we were playing well. Because anyone could go out there, and and it sounds like stupid as hell, but if I was in my prime, able to move like I used to, and I was going against the Bills playing, or any team playing soft prevent defense, I'm catching the ball. I don't know how far I'll get, but I'm making a catch. So now you're talking about professionals who are on a 10 or 9-1 team at the time. They're going to make plays that need to be made. So if we find ourselves in that situation again, be aggressive from the start of the drive. Once it gets down to the 15, we're gonna play. We're gonna do a zero blitz, and then hopefully something happens. Play aggressive from the start and see what can change. Because obviously, playing prevent has never worked for us in the past, except for, look at that one last time we played the Chiefs. Right, we scored. First play of the drive, we got a sack. I think the second play was the pick by Teron Johnson. We weren't playing soft coverage there because Teron was right on his man. He picked it off. So why not do that again? And it worked. And then we always go to the conservative style. So hopefully everybody, including all the coaches, understand this is it. And it's good football that way because you're like, wow, this is playoff atmosphere. This is like an AFC championship game. This is whatever kind of game you want to look at it. And we have to win every single one of them. So it'll be fun for that, but it's also, nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. It's going to be nerve-wracking because it's a win or go home situation for Buffalo. And we've been to the playoffs so many times in a row, and we just have to come out of this game and really look like the team that we should be. And this is, like you said, this is an AFC championship game atmosphere. And we got to come out of this game with a really good start on offense and a really good job stopping on defense. And it's going to take each and every player out there to make the difference. And I think with added rest, that's going to be the biggest factor for the Bills getting a win this week. But let's move on, talk about some of the updates that we do have for the Buffalo Bills. And we saw a transaction that happened this week. that it's sad to lose out on a player that's a veteran on the Buffalo Bills leaving the team. But let's get into the return of one of the better starters for the Buffalo Bills, and that's going to be the return of Dawson Knox that we will see this week. We also had AJ Klein got released, so he will no longer be on the team, but we have the addition of Dawson Knox coming back to the Buffalo Bills, and we know how much he means to the team. So, Sean, I want to talk about adding Mr. Hard Knox and Dawson Knox and having him return to the Buffalo Bills. How much will that mean to Josh Allen?
I think it means a lot because we tend to forget that we were playing our best football when we had Dawson Knox. We were putting up 40 points a game in that stretch with Dawson Knox there. And, I'm going to call out the Mafia a little bit. I see everybody everywhere always throwing out Greg Rousseau's been injured. He's banged up. You can't expect much from him. He's going to be fine. But when Knox was playing with a messed up wrist and dropping a couple passes and doing whatever, everybody's like, "Oh man, he sucks. Why is he getting paid so much? Why is he playing?" And then everyone now forgets that he is the playmaker. Everybody mentions like, "Oh, well, what about Kincaid now?" Well, Kincaid the last couple of games has been invisible in the second half. So if anything, this might help both of them. This might because Kincaid might not be invisible in the second half now because you got Dawson Knox in the field as well, and it might draw a different kind of attention because he is a playmaker. Whether he's worth $14 million a year or not, he's still a playmaker. Great. I mean, Quentin Morris is good at blocking too,
Right.
but just another dynamic, another veteran on our team who has a good connection with Josh. Not that, Morris wasn't really getting the ball that often, but now you got Kincaid who's actually came out, and then you got Knox back, and you got Diggs, and you got Shakir, and hopefully Gabe Davis can show up. But right. I think it's huge. I think he'll be good. Maybe not right away. Maybe I don't know how he is conditioned or strength wise or anything like that. We'll have to see. But he's activated, and I'm excited for it. And hopefully, it's like riding a bike for him. And
right.
I believe in him. He made mistakes earlier in the year, but we give guys like Rousseau excuse for and credit for playing injured. So why were we not doing the same thing for Dawson Knox? So
yeah,
I'm always the same way. I always say, if you're injured and you're not producing, you take whatever comes with it. But which I agree with. So that's why I wasn't happy with Knox, but I wasn't saying he shouldn't be playing. And then now I'm just telling people to keep the same energy with Dawson Knox they do with Greg Rousseau.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And I think the biggest thing is going to be adding another weapon to the Bills' offense that they've been putting up some points lately. They've done a good job, but really they just need somebody that can add a little bit more so that these games are not one possession games. I think that's one of the things that Dawson Knox is going to help with is being able to move the ball down the field a little bit more. And for Buffalo to also be able to use the outside perimeters and to be able to use that, but also be able to go over the middle as well with two tight end sets. And this might be the difference between what we were missing with having Ken Dorsey and now adding Joe Brady. Can the Bills be able to do it? And that's what I think Josh Allen's going to have to learn is how to get the ball over the middle of the field and how to rely on the checkdowns with Dalton Kincaid and maybe Dawson Knox in there as well. And if they're able to do that, how can they sprinkle in other guys that we're going to talk about being possible X factors for the Buffalo Bills this week against the Kansas City Chiefs? But I don't want to get too far into that, but you can mix in a lot more players as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into the next category that we're going to talk about, which is the Chiefs having 4 starters ruled out this week. Let me get into the injury report, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs this week. 4 starters are going to be out, and it's going to be 2 of them on offense, 2 of them on defense, and it's some pretty big names. If you remember back to the days with the Bucs, we have offensive tackle Donovan Smith out with a neck injury this week, as well as Isaiah Pacheco, who will be out as well with a shoulder injury. Switching over to the defensive side, it's going to be Drew Tranquill out with a concussion. Linebacker will be out. Add in Brian Cook, free safety, out with an ankle injury as well. But they will add in Nick Bolton, who is activated off of the injured reserve list, who's going to be a big name that's going to help out the Kansas City Chiefs as well. For the Buffalo
He's
Bills,
better than Tranquil anyway, so that kind of stinks. But
it's going to stink a little bit, but it's going to be a big difference for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bills are completely healthy this week, except for Kyer Elam, who is the 21-day window for the Buffalo Bills has been activated for him. So we could see him back in a couple of weeks. But other than that, no injuries to report. It seems like everybody will be healthy. We'll just have to decide who is going to be the inactives for the Buffalo Bills, whether that's going to be guys like maybe Taylor Rapp, who was a full participant with a neck injury. Maybe you could see him wait another week out. We also had guys like Dalton Kincaid pop up on the injury report with thumb injury, Josh Allen with the right shoulder injury, which seems like that's been reported every single week, but he's a full practice all week. You saw Leonard Floyd, wrist injury, full practice all week. Only player that had a day off this week was Von Miller on Wednesday, having a vet rest day on Wednesday, which is a little surprising based off of the Bills being on a bye week last week. He was a do not practice this week. We also saw the concussion protocol be lifted on Dane Jackson as well, which is a great sign to have our number 2 cornerback be back in the lineup. Also add in Dawson Knox back with the wrist injury. He will be back in the lineup as well. So that's great news for the Buffalo Bills, having everybody back out there on the active roster, and we will see what the Bills decide to do as far as the inactives go tomorrow. But let's move into the next topic that we're going to talk about, and I want to start with the Buffalo Bills, and this is the topic that I was saving for a little bit later in the show. And Sean, I want to talk about the X factors for the Buffalo Bills and the X factors for the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's start with the Buffalo Bills because they are the away team to begin things off with. And I'm looking for that secret sauce. You know, you go to a restaurant and sometimes there's that like secret sauce that you like. Maybe it's the Big Mac sauce that people love, or there's that sauce that, you know, you can't stand. I want to know from you, what is that sauce, first of all, that you like from a restaurant, and where is it from?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I like a lot of stuff, so I should have looked at the spread beforehand because I on the spot I can't really think of something. But I mean,
what about like Bar Bill? You like their wings, right?
Oh yeah.
You like the Cajun honey wings from Bar Bill?
Okay. Yeah, those are good.
Okay, so
I like their medium too. Pretty good, pretty solid. And the lemon pepper is the best one though.
Okay, that's good to know. So next time I go up there, I gotta try them again. So
yeah, they're good.
I gotta have those lemon pepper ones. But so let's create a secret sauce for the Buffalo Bills for figuring out a formula for how to beat these Kansas City Chiefs. And I want to know from you, who is going to be your secret factor on the Bills offense for beating the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, without counting the offensive line, because they're obviously the most important, but without factoring them in, working in the middle of the field, whether it's with Knox or Kincaid or Shakir, just work the middle of the field, be able to run the football. You know, we've been able to run the football pretty well the last couple of weeks. Chiefs got a great defense, but, you know, one of the things people love about Joe Brady is that even if it might not seem like the run is working, we continue to do so. Granted, we've had a lot of plays run in the last couple games. I mean, we had some games this year where we only ran like 40 plays. So I don't want to run the ball 30 times or 25 times if we only have 40 plays. But it's easy to run it 40 times when you got 90 plays. So we'll have to see how it works out. But if we run efficiently, again, that's been really huge. And then hopefully either a guy like Gabe Davis can show up. And if he doesn't, Khalil Shakir, because we got to help out Stephon Diggs and got to get him open. And if you draw attention away, if you're making plays, they're not going to worry about just Diggs anymore. Now, if they're focused on just Diggs and you're not catching the ball or what you're getting locked up or whatever, they're going to continue to worry just about Diggs. But if you can draw attention away in other ways, like running the football or have a secondary weapon step up, that'll be helpful. So the secret sauce is obviously the offensive line, which again, that goes without saying. So, whatever. And then run the football, work the middle of the field, and one of the secondary receivers step up.
So let me ask you this, Sean. Do you think that the Bills will activate Leonard Fournette off of the practice squad? Do you think they'll elevate him back for another week? Or do you think that it's going to be a couple more weeks before we see Leonard Fournette back on the roster? Now, he's talking like he's ready to go. I mean, it seems like he understands the offense. He's ready to go. But do you think this is a game where the Bills use Leonard Fournette?
I would like it to be just to see how he is, but I don't know. I just got a feeling they're gonna save him in case of emergency, or if we are eliminated from the playoffs, they might play him a little bit just to see what he's like. But I think he should get some playing time. Don't think they will though.
I mean, I agree with you there. I don't think that they're gonna play him. I want them to. Don't get me wrong, but I think that the recipe for how to beat the Kansas City Chiefs from an offensive perspective has to come down to, obviously, and we've talked about it a lot, especially with me, the time of possession battle is going to be crucial for the Buffalo Bills in this game. You're going to have to utilize that time of possession battle quite a bit. The other factor that's going to have to come down to is the penalties in this game. Sean, I don't even know if you know who the referee that's going to be the head ref for this game is, but it's not Sean Hockley, which is a great sign. It's actually Carl Sheffers, who's thrown the most offensive penalties in the NFL this season, especially on offensive pass interference and offensive holding calls that have happened. So the Bills have to play a clean game as well. This is one of those games where you can't have those 10, 11 penalties that you have in the first half, and you have to play a clean game. It's got to come down to the Bills also being able to move the football from the offensive perspective, especially with the run game. And I think that taking time off of the clock by utilizing guys like Latavius Murray as well as James Cook is going to be the benefactor for how the Bills can find a win this week. And if you're able to do that, I think you have to start off by having Latavius Murray as your big back come into the game like we've talked about a lot. But he has to be the guy that's fighting him for the bruising yards where it's 4 or 5 yards per carry. Then you have the speed development in James Cook, who can come down and really take a play that's supposed to be going for 4 yards on a normal carry from Latavius Murray and break it to the house. And if you're able to do that, you're going to break apart the defense and you're going to punish them quite a bit. And you got to tire out this Kansas City Chiefs defense. This is Steve Spagnuolo's probably his best defense that he's had with Andy Reid so far in his career. So you got to be able to pick apart this defense. And then from the perspective of the passing game, I think a lot of play action plays where you're going to have to test out Nick Bolton and see if he can maybe find a couple plays where he's out of coverage. And even if you have in Knox, who's probably going to be on a limited snap count this week, but if you have Knox in the game and you have Dalton Kincaid, who's going to be that next weapon like we're talking about here? And I think that the biggest one that's going to be the next man to step up is going to be Khalil Shakir. And if you're looking at this from a fantasy perspective, you're looking for a player to grab on the waiver wire, I think you should go after a guy like Khalil Shakir. I think he's going to be a big focal point in this offense going forward. And he's done a pretty good job so far in the last couple of games. So if you're looking for a player that maybe gets a couple of targets, I think it's going to get more than a couple. I think it's going to get closer to that maybe 8 to 10 range for targets. Whether that's going to be 60 yards or not, especially in PPR leagues, you're looking at a guy that's going to get 1 point per reception. So 8 points is going to be 8 points is for 8 catches. So if you're looking for somebody that can get you the catches, go after a guy like Khalil Shakir because he's going to be a benefactor going forward. But I think this offense is going to take the next step up by having that next wide receiver come into the game, and I think they're gonna try and stop Stephon Diggs a little bit. I know his numbers are for the over under are 74.5 yards. I think he's going to be under this game, to be honest with you, especially going up against Trent McDuffie. But if you're trying to stop Stephon Diggs, you got to have that next man up that comes into the game, and you have a good. And I'm going to say this, Sean. Maybe you're going to disagree with me, but I think you have a good 1-2-3 punch for the Buffalo Bills. But we just need to see Gabe Davis take that next switch. And the next 5 games are crucial for him, especially from a player that's going to be a free agent going forward. But you got to see him take that next step forward and make an impact on this roster and prove that he can be a number 1 or a number 2 wide receiver in this league.
Very true.
But let's move on to the next category that we have here. And this one I think is going to be a fun category because we talked about the Bills' secret factors, but let's talk about the X factors for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know we can talk about Travis Kelce all day. You know, that's one player that we can talk about, but there's other players on the roster that we can talk about too. But Sean, let me bring it over to you and talk about the X factors for the Kansas City Chiefs and who do you think the Bills have to worry about this week besides obviously Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes? Who else do you think the Bills are going to have to worry about?
On defense, Chris Jones, of course. I mean, he's a guy that could change a game in one play. So it's going to be another big assignment for the interior O-line, and it's pretty interesting. I feel like we played a lot of really good defenses with a lot of really good defensive fronts this year. So they're going to be well, conditioned. Playing guys with the likes of Quinnen Williams twice, and now you're going to go against a guy like Chris Jones. It'll be a another good test for them. But he's a guy that can change the game. I'm not really big on. I know Jake loves Karlaftis. I'm not really a big Karlaftis guy, but Chris Jones for sure defensively. And then if I got to pick one on offense, I don't want to take your guy or anything, but I mean Pacheco being out is huge. So he's probably the 3rd best player on offense. And then an X factor, which is yet to be seen. This is kind of like a shot in the dark. But Wanya Morris, a guy that we looked at a lot in the pre-draft, he should be filling in for Smith at left tackle. And it's going to be a big opportunity for him and a big, a lot of tough matchups too with Floyd and Epinesa and Rousseau flopping around going against him. A lot's going to be on his plate to protect Pat Mahomes' blind side. So he's going to need to be an X factor. I don't know how much he is yet. He's coming off the bench, so he needs to be a X factor for them. And then, of course, obviously you got Mahomes and Kelce, but
yeah, I mean, we can talk about Mahomes and Kelce all day. I think the one thing I would love to talk about, because I know you talked about some of the players that we not a lot of football players, or I'm sorry, not a lot of fans know. And I want to talk about Travis Kelce a little bit because I think he's one of the X factors, obviously, that we're going to have to target. And his matchup going up against not only Tyrell Dodson, but also going up against the safeties in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. So, Sean, I want to ask you this. Who do you think is going to be covering Travis Kelce for the Bills?
I don't know. We'll probably play zone. So, it'll be a group of people having to share the assignment. But if I had to guess, I don't know. I would stick Bernard on him just because he's fast and physical. I mean, Dawson's physical too, but I don't think he's as athletic. So it'll be interesting, but I'm sure one of the linebackers. If I had to guess, probably I would put Bernard on him though.
Let me ask you this though, okay? So from this perspective, we know that and I'm going to kind of twinkle my way into 2 segments, okay? Because I want to talk about this one especially. Do you see the Bills possibly moving a player from the outside to go inside and cover Travis Kelce? Maybe that's a player like Rasul Douglas that could cover him a little bit. Maybe Taron Johnson. I think that's a matchup that's probably going to be hell for Taron Johnson, but a player like him or even Dane Jackson being moved inside to cover him.
Yeah, I could see that. It depends how they come out on offense. If they got 5 wide, I don't know if they do that. But if it's just like you know 11 personnel, maybe. But yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, Russell's physical too, 6'2", so gonna have to switch things up because he's always against us, especially. I mean, Kelsey hasn't. He's had some games where he's been quiet this year, but against us, he's
Yeah,
always doing something. So we got to do something different.
that's very true. And we got to see if Taylor Swift is going to attend the game too. So that's another factor.
She probably will.
So let's see if she's going to. It seems like, let me see real quick. This is from 5 hours ago, whether she will be at the game or not. But we will probably see Haley Steinfeld at the game, which is going to be great for the Buffalo Bills. But let me just see if there's any rumors whether she will attend. Most recently, she was at another game. It seems like she is trending towards not being at the game, which would be great for the Bills. Most recently last week, she was at the game, but in the, I mean, it seems like she's not going to be at the game because if you look at the ticket prices, that's what really tells you whether she's going to be at the game. So
Yeah,
ticket prices are at $400 right now. If the ticket prices go up, that's what you're looking for, which they haven't. So that very well could mean that she's not going to be at the game. Don't quote me on this. It just seems like the trend is that she won't be at the game. So don't quote me on it, guys, but very well could not be at the game. But let's move into the next segment, which is kind of like a parallel to what we're talking about here. And the next segment is going to be, can the Bills lock up the Kansas City Chiefs offense? And Sean, I want to talk about the Bills cornerbacks that have been playing a lot of zone coverage, which we've talked about it a lot. And this is a matchup where I personally think, and maybe you will agree with me, I think that the Chiefs wide receivers are this is probably the weakest that we've ever seen them as a unit. And you have Rasul Douglas, you also have Dane Jackson, and you have Taron Johnson, but you also have Christian Benford out there as well. Now, my question for you is, do you think the Bills will lock up the Chiefs wide receivers?
Yeah, I think so, to a point. I mean, they're gonna get a couple balls here and there. I don't think we're gonna hold them under 10 points, but I think it'll be tough for them because, like I said, Pacheco's out, and he's probably their third best playmaker after Mahomes and Kelsey. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't really that good. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, but he's not really like a threat to. I'd be scared of Pacheco, not him. And then if you got Douglas on Rashee Rice. Douglas is very physical, and he does play press a little bit, for the most part. So I would like that. Christian Watson and Sky Moore, they're not really, Watson will catch a few here and there, so will Moore, but nobody I'm really terrified of besides Kelsey. So I think we'll do a pretty good job defensively. It all starts, though, with D-line getting pressure. I mean, their interior is pretty good. Even with Donovan Smith in, he hasn't been that good this year either. Now you just got a rookie that you can feast off of. And then, Jawan Taylor, now that he's getting called for false starts and for lining up too far back, he's not that good anymore, obviously. So, he's being careful about how he does his approach. Interior, it's going to be a little bit more difficult with Creed Humphrey and Joe Tooney and Trey Smith, but, Ed Oliver's in the middle, so he'll make some plays here and there too. So keep Patrick Mahomes in the pocket. Don't let him get out and run because he will run. And he doesn't want to run first, but he will. So defensive ends, like we did the first time when we played him last year. Greg Rousseau and Epinesa and Vaughn, they did a great job of staying contained while rushing the passer and making sure Mahomes has to stay in the pocket. And that's also important for the D tackles as well. Because if he finds an open lane, he'll take it. So really got to control the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest factor is going to be the Bills being able to utilize Linval Joseph in the middle of the field as well as Ed Oliver. You're going to have to contain the middle of the field. And I didn't even put this in a segment either for the how to beat Patrick Mahomes and how to stop Patrick Mahomes. But I think that the main thing is going to have to be interior pressure as well as containment on the outside. And that's one thing that you just mentioned. And then adding in a guy like Terrell Bernard to be the spy as well. You're going to need a spy on Patrick Mahomes. So that's what it's going to have to come down to. 5 guys, not only 4 guys rushing, but also have that spy in the middle of the field. And that's what it's going to really take. It's going to take for the Bills to beat Patrick Mahomes. But let's get to the other side of the ball. And I want to talk about the Steve Spagnuolo defense. And I brought this segment up because we talk about the Bills a lot, and we don't really get the chance to talk about the opposing team too much. And I want to get more into the other team. And we've seen Spagnuolo's defense, and they've been playing pretty good. But I want to know from you, Sean, do you think there's any weaknesses in the defense, and where do you think the Bills can target?
Well, everything has a weakness, no matter how strong or good anything is, and anything, not any sport, anything you do, there's always a weakness or a thing to exploit. I would have said linebacker if Bolton, even Bolton's good. The other guy, I don't even know his name. Tranquil was Bolton's backup. He was decent, but even so, I still think the middle of the field is because Bolton's really good in the run defense too, more so than pass coverage. So, and I think even if he's decent at it, I think Kincaid can get a couple on him here and there. So middle of the field, and then now you got a hole at safety. Their starting safety got hurt last game, so that is definitely a weak spot to target. From what I remember, I think McDuffie plays more in the slot this year than the boundary. So, you got L'Jarius Sneed on the outside. I think, Diggs will work him. McDuffie too. I mean, I like Diggs on anybody, but safety and linebacker, middle of the field is what I can see.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. Let me get to the comments real quick on YouTube. We got a couple coming in, but first let me start with Mafia Sports Report coming in before the show. We have a comment from him saying, I was first to hit that like button. Let's keep it going. Bills Mafia, smash the like button for Nickel City Mafia. Go Bills. And that is completely true. Don't forget to smash that like button for all of us. Also, don't forget to drop a nickel on that subscribe button and click the notification bell as well, so you can be notified anytime that we are going live. We would greatly appreciate that. We're also going live for the Red, White, and Ruhtless every Saturday at 8:30 p.m. We also have the AFC Summit going live at 8 o'clock every Tuesday. And there are some other shows like the Sabres Edge, the Fantasy Football Show as well. And you can see Mike and Jake on Wednesdays and Sundays as well. And there's going to be more shows coming on the Nickel City Mafia. This is going to be pretty much a 24/7 ordeal that we're going to be live. We got guys all across the world going live pretty much now. We got guys in California. We also have East Coast guys like myself and Sean. So we'll be going live quite a bit going forward. And who knows, we might have some more shows later on in the towards the new year. We also have a fundraiser that's going on as well, and I want to get to that real quick. I'm going to take the banner off of here real quick, but at the bottom of the screen, we have a child that is in need. His name is Cardell. He is battling cancer right now, and his family is looking for help at this time. This is one of the toughest times of the year, especially when you have a child that has cancer and you're in the hospital room with them, probably not able to work most likely. We have a family in need, and if you are able to at all, you can click that QR code on the bottom of the screen, and if you're able to donate, we would greatly appreciate anything. And if you're not able to donate, if you could share as well, we would greatly appreciate that. Whether you could do that, the link is in the description on YouTube as well as on Facebook. So if you're able to share the message with us, we would greatly appreciate it as well. But let me get into the comments real quick. We have a couple more coming in from Mad Chatter, and we always appreciate Mad Chatter coming in the comments. He is asking, do we have a chance? And I do believe we have a chance of winning this game. We also do have some injury returns as well. We have Dawson Knox coming back. We don't have Kyer Elam, but we do have a fully healthy team, which is a big factor for the Buffalo Bills. Getting healthy has been one of the hardest things for the team. We are finally healthy, which is a great sign. Don't have back Daquan Jones or Matt Milano, which is going to suck, probably out for the rest of the season. But you have a couple of players that are coming back or trending towards coming back as well, which is going to help.
I just want to say I was trying to tell people that they're not coming back. Everyone said I was an idiot and I don't know anything. I'm not a doctor. And, McDermott said that they're probably going to come back. And I just want to say I told you so.
I mean, listen, we got 5 more weeks in the season. It very well could happen. Maybe a
lot of the people that were calling me dumb said they'd be back by like week 9. So
it hasn't happened yet, but we'll see. I mean, 2 injuries.
One of them, Milano's already been ruled out for the rest of the year.
Right.
Jones it'll be a prayer, a shot in the dark, and that'd be like the first week of the playoffs if he comes back.
Right.
So, which I doubt.
We'll see though. I mean, it very well could happen. We'll see what happens with the Buffalo Bills, whether they're in it or not, and if they're able to find a way to get guys like Daquan Jones back, which would be crucial for the Buffalo Bills to make a deep playoff run. But I got a couple more segments for you, Sean, before we get into some closing topics as well as score predictions for the game. But let's talk about this matchup between the guy that just came off of the injured reserve list. We've talked about him a little bit, and Nick Bolton versus Josh Allen, which is going to be the crucial matchup that we are going to see. And it's Allen versus Bolton. And can Josh find running lanes versus his spy in Nick Bolton, which is going to be crucial for the Buffalo Bills to be able to move the ball down the field. If you remember back to last year, Nick Bolton pretty much stopped Josh Allen and his ability to get downfield. And this is a time where he's coming off of the injured reserve list. And I brought this segment up because I think that the Bills are going to have to utilize Josh's legs in this game. I think it's going to be very important. The Bills have a winning record. I mean, almost a spectacular record when Josh rushes 10 times or more. So I'm going to ask you this, Sean. How can the Bills find ways to get Nick Bolton off his game, and how can they be able to run Josh a little bit more in this game?
I don't know. Like I said, I'd rather have the running backs run, than Josh. But when there's a spy, it's obviously harder to run when it's not designed. So you would have to been calling design runs for Josh and have guys like Torrance and Morse or Brown and Torrance double team. And then one of them moves up to the second level and gets the linebacker. So then Josh can get running lanes. And there's still be some lane. Yeah, he won't get like 20-yard runs maybe. But, if you do play action and maybe you catch Bolton, off his toes a little bit, or if he's cheating back, maybe you can get a couple yards there or get something happening. But don't look to run. And if you do want to run with Josh, maybe a couple designed ones where you got guys going off of double teams up to the second level and get him out of the play. But again, if we're running the ball well with the running backs and we're throwing the ball on them like we should, and again, they've been good all year, but we threw on the Jets defense. Yeah, Eagles defense is not that great, but we threw on them as well. And we threw on Miami. We threw on a lot of people, so I'm not really worried. Like I said, I think we got enough weapons, and we know how Josh plays in Arrowhead. We know how Josh plays against the Chiefs. So we'll get some plays, and then, like I said, run the football. But if Josh has to run, play action, and then like boots and rollouts, and then blocking up to the second level on design runs if you need.
Yeah. Completely agree with you there. Let me get to the comments real quick. We had a couple come in from Bills fans CA saying, I may have missed it, but great to have Dawson back. Another option for Joe Brady tomorrow. And I completely agree with you there. He's probably going to be on a pitch count, but we'll see what happens. Maybe he is healthy and he'll be back full time, but I have a feeling he's going to be on a pitch count. Probably see him a little bit, maybe 15 to 20 snaps for him on offense, which would be great to see. But I'm hoping for a couple of receptions from him, maybe 30, 40 yards as well. But he also says, and this is the one that I completely agree with, because I know somebody being an expert, now, and seeing what Sean says. Sean is a smart guy, guys. We got to give him a little bit more credit. We also have to start sending some people over to his platform on Red, White, and Bills, and drop nickel on the subscribe button for him as well. But Sean has been right on many things this year. Need to listen to what this man says a little bit more, which I completely agree with. But let me get to
appreciate it.
Mad Chatter as well. He said, "I'm not a fan of Dawson drops, guys," which, I understand what you're saying there, but I think that Dawson brings a dynamic element to this offense, and he's a big factor in what the Bills are doing. Also, Mad Chatter saying, is Vaughn out for the year, which he is not. He's traveling with the team to Kansas City, and he will be playing in this game as well. A few more comments coming in. We got a lot of comments coming in. We got 7 people watching the show right now. So if you're watching, don't forget to jump into the chat as well. You will be featured on the show. We have Bills Fan CA coming in saying, Dawson, good blocker and has been great against Kansas City Chiefs, which I completely agree. Mad Chatter coming in with, I was the one who first called Sean an idiot, which I think he regrets that probably now. But
I was gonna say I don't remember you ever calling me that, but if you did, it was probably funny.
Nah, he's coming
in. I've been called worse things.
Hey, listen, I mean, we have our days where we battle each other and everything, but I mean, I know my co-host, and I wouldn't pick anybody else to be my co-host other than probably Jake Podger, because he's the encyclopedia a little bit more.
Can't blame you.
Yeah,
I'm glad Matt Chatter's a fan of me too.
Hey, I mean, listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. I know we're getting a little bit off topic, but let me give a little shout out to Nickel City Mafia for the work that they do as well. And, you got Mike Fortin, you have Jake Podger, you also have Sean and I. You add in other guys to the platform as well in the AFC Summit crew that we have. You add in the Sabres Edge crew. I don't want to forget anybody that. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody else, but you also add in the fantasy football show, the golf channel that they have. And this is platform. The guys that Mike has gotten onto the platform has been incredible. So, give a round of applause to the crew that he's put together. And I'll tell you what, I mean, finding the guys that he does, I don't know how he does it, but I think that Mike must go around the world in his car, and, he looks for the guys that have the panhandling signs on the side of the road, and he just picks out the guys that he thinks is going to be great for the show, and he does a phenomenal job doing that. So I want to give a little shout out to him as well, and the phenomenal work that he's put together for the Nickel City Mafia platform. But Sean, let's get back into the groove of things and get back into the next couple of topics that we have, and we have 3 more that we're going to get into before we get into score predictions for the Buffalo Bills. But let's get into the next category, which is going to be, can Josh Allen outperform and outduel Patrick Mahomes? And I do think that this is going to be a fun matchup. If you look back to a couple of years ago, we saw the Bills and Kansas City Chiefs pretty much go up and down the field, every drive, be able to put points on the board. And I think this is going to be more of a defensive battle for both teams. So I want to know from you, Sean, how do you feel about this game? Do you think it's going to be a defensive battle, or do you think it's going to be more of an offensive battle?
It's tough to say. I think we're going to blow them out. So I don't know if it's I guess it's offensive for us, and we'll see. But can he outduel Mahomes? Yeah. Out of the 5 matchups, he's outdueled him 3 out of the 5 and only won 2 of them. So, that when people always say, "Oh, he's not even close," they're not even close to being the same person. It's because they're only looking at the team accolades like Super Bowls, and Super Bowl MVPs 99 times out of 100 go to the quarterback.
Right.
And one of them that he won should have went to the running back. I even forgot his name now, but they run him Damian something. I don't know. But Yeah, they give him
roll?
the quarterback. So it's a team game in the sense of look at what happens to Josh. He takes the lead, gets off the field, then loses the lead, goes back on the field, takes the lead, and with 13 seconds left, loses a game. So it's like,
Right.
as far as them, they're very similar in skill and talent. So if they both had no Super Bowls, no MVPs, no whatever, it wouldn't be that much of an argument.
Right.
But that's on Josh to get some hardware. But yeah, I think he can absolutely outduel him, and he's done it many times in the past, and this will be another week where he will, and I think he'll rise to the occasion and get another win. Be the only quarterback to ever beat Mahomes 3 times in Arrowhead. He's already beaten him. Only the only quarterback to beat him twice in Arrowhead. Now he'll be the first one to beat him 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be a fun matchup. I think that obviously, unbiased aside, being a Bills fan, I think that Josh Allen is playing like an MVP. I mean, let's just put it out there. He's not getting the credit that he deserves, and everybody's hating on him. But I'll tell you right now, of the quarterbacks in the NFL this season, I mean, you can go after Jalen Hurts, you can go after guys like Joe Burrow, when they're healthy, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes. I think that Josh Allen is playing at an above average, well, not even above average. I think he's playing at an elite level. I mean, this is probably the best season of his career that he's having. The turnovers are what, everybody's worried about, but that's okay. When you're a quarterback like Brett Favre and you're somebody that fires the ball 50 times a game, you're going to have turnovers. That's going to happen. So let's just talk about this real quick, Sean. I know you might be doing something though, but I want to mention this.
Yeah.
And say when you are throwing the ball 50 times a game and you have one turnover in that game, that's 2% of the throws that you're throwing that you have a turnover. That's a low number. Let's just talk about this. When you're playing backyard football, like we all do, okay? You played it, I played it, Mike's played it, everybody else has played it. And you're out there throwing the ball, okay? You draw up plays and everything. How many times did you throw an interception?
Probably a lot.
A lot. I'd say probably. I mean, have I had games where I've thrown 5 interceptions for being the quarterback in backyard football? Of course. Have I had a Nathan Peterman half? Of course. Have I had a half where I threw 7 touchdowns in a game? Yeah, I have. But that's backyard football, okay? That's backyard football where you're designing the plays on the football, saying, "Hey, you're going to run a post, you're going to run a slant route, you're going to run this route or that route." Okay. I've had that happen, but I'm not in the NFL. Okay. 7 touchdowns is an incredible number to have, but I'm no Josh Allen. I'm no Patrick Mahomes. I might have been one of the better players in, the backyard football, maybe, but I freaking suck at football. I'm going to be honest, but these guys are trained athletes, and sometimes you have to force the ball in those situations to be able to try and make a play for your team. And that's the thing that I'm seeing Josh Allen do, is throw the ball into tough situations where other guys won't do it. And excuse my language when I say this, but he has the balls to be able to throw the ball in that situation, which I give him a lot of credit for, because some guys would rather take the sack in that situation. But Josh, no, he's going to throw the ball in that situation. He's going to try and make a big play, which is only going to help the team in those situations. And sometimes they will hurt the team. Okay. But like we talked about earlier in the season, we talked about Josh and his progress that he's making. And Josh will make or break a game sometimes. There's games that you're going to lose because Josh throws 3 interceptions or 4 interceptions sometimes in a game. But there's also games where Josh is going to be the factor that makes that highlight reel where he jumps over a defender or he makes a big play. And that's the thing that happens more often than not. And I want to take a moment to just say how spectacular of a player that we have on the Bills roster in Josh Allen, and how much he really Um, I'm reading this comment real quick. I'll put it up on the screen in just a second. But how much it means to the Buffalo Bills and the fan base to have a quarterback and a superstar on the team like Josh Allen. But let me get to the comments real quick. We got a few that came in as I was speaking. So let me get into these real quick. Mad Chatter coming in and saying who will cover Kelsey. I think Sean predicted that it's going to be either Jordan Poyer or Micah Hyde probably covering him. I said
No, I said Bernard.
You said Bernard too.
Yeah.
But I say it's going to be Rasul Douglas covering him and moving inside to cover him. I think that would be a great fit. Mad Chatter, Siren Neal possibly. That would be kind of funny.
It'd be horrible.
Happen. Mad Chatter
never be on the field.
Same. Mad Chatter coming in saying Leonard Floyd is Bill's best pass rusher and edge rusher. I completely agree with that too. Mad Chatter also saying thank you to that. Also coming in, Mad Chatter with a comment saying Brett drops back to pass and I'm out there. I'm gonna come around his blind side and pop him. I'll tell you this though, okay? Let me say this, Mad Chatter. You probably would, not gonna lie. I wasn't the fastest player in the world, but what I had for I didn't have the most speed. I had the ability to play smarter than a lot of people did. So I understood the game at a young age, and being able to move the ball down the field, it's quick passes, stuff like that. That's what I was going for more than often than not, and I would rely on my playmakers to make big plays. So that's what really happens out there. Matt Treader also coming in saying Eagles were able to shut down Kelsey, which I completely agree with. I think the Bills will be able to do. Bills fan CA saying, I like Douglas on him as well, Brett. Good call. Take away their best player, and I completely think that that's what the Bills are going to do in this situation. Maybe put 2 players on him. Matt Treader also coming in saying, my hot take is that we do not have a good enough pass rush to beat Mahomes unless Groot reemerges. I don't necessarily think that. I think we have the weapons to be able to create a good pass rush against him. Remember this, though, we are healthy now. And, you have guys like Ed Oliver. You have Daquan Jones, or not Daquan Jones. I'm sorry. Daquan Jones' replacement now, Linval Joseph, who's going to be able to command 2 guys on the interior offensive line. But you add in Leonard Floyd, you add in AJ Epinesa and Greg Rousseau. Another extra week of rest for Von Miller, which I think will really help as well. And you also add in Terrell Bernard being able to pass rush and maybe even Tyrell Dodson. I think that's going to be the factor for how you're going to beat Patrick Mahomes. But you're going to have to get to him. That's the other thing that we're going to have to do. So, he's saying that much regress pass rush from last year. Would you agree with that, Sean?
He's talking about, I think he's talking about Rousseau, right? Because he said, unless Groot reemerges, much regress pass rush from last year. As a team, I don't think so. But Rousseau, yeah, definitely.
I don't think that overall we've regressed. I think we've actually gotten better.
I think he just means Rousseau, but yeah, as a team, definitely not. But as Rousseau as an individual player, yeah.
He's also saying the additions of Joseph and Floyd give us a chance, which I completely agree with. I think that that's going to be a big factor in this game as well. But I think this pass rush, I mean, we're going to have to see a lot more disguise. We're going to have to see a lot more aggressiveness from this pass rush, and that's what's going to be the biggest factor for how the Bills are going to get a win this week. But Sean, let's get into
the secondary too, just real quick, because if the pass rush isn't getting there quick enough, if the secondary is locking them up good, then the pass rush has extra time to get there. So I think it'll, that could help too.
Completely agree with you there. Well, let's get into the last 2 segments that we will have, which is going to be the players to watch for the Chiefs and then the players to watch for the Buffalo Bills, followed by score predictions and final thoughts that we will have as well. But let's get into the players to watch for the Kansas City Chiefs, Sean. And we'll start with the offense of the Chiefs.
Well, not Not counting the easy two, I guess. Guess Rashee Rice.
Rice. I like him. I do. He's going to be one of the factors that you're going to have to look out for. My player to watch on offense for the Kansas City Chiefs is actually going to be running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who, when he plays against the Buffalo Bills, it seems like he just takes his game to the next level. And he's a big factor not only in the run game, but he's also a big factor in the pass game. So you're going to have to rely on him and be able to stop him as well. But let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. And Sean, without mentioning Chris Jones, let's bring up another name that you think is going to be an X factor for this game.
Bolton. He's a very good linebacker. Could do a lot of things. Very good in run defense. A little bit, to be desired in not pass protection, but coverage. But still, all around great linebacker. Got great detail, great mechanics. So definitely, he's coming off an injury, but still.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be Trent McDuffie. I think he's going to be a big factor, not only in the slot game, but I think he's also going to be outside covering Stephon Diggs a little bit more. I think you're going to see a big difference in how he's going to play. And it's going to be difficult for the Buffalo Bills to be able to go up against him. We have Mad Cheddar bringing up another player in Karlaftis. I hope I said it right.
Oh, he's talking about Karloff. He said it or something. Karloftis, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not afraid of people that don't have at least one piece of hair on their face. So he's a non-factor for me. Spencer Brown's gonna lock him up.
I mean, let's bring this up real quick and bring him up because, for people that don't know who he is, let's just bring him up real quick and mention him. He is a sack machine right now on the season, having 8 sacks already on the year in the 12 games that he's played so far this year. He also has 36 tackles on the season. He's going to be a big factor going up against Spencer Brown, but I think that, like you said, Sean, he's going to be a player, obviously, to watch. But I think that of the players that we need to mention Trent McDuffie. We also need to mention.
Yeah. Of all the edge rushers that we had to go against, he's the one from week 1 till now is the one I'm least worried about.
Yeah. So. But he's 6'4", 263 pounds. So he's a speed rusher, which is something that we're going to have to factor in. But he could play a big role in the run game too, being a guy that's going to stop the run. So we're going to have to look into him a little bit more. I'd say he's of the X factors, he might be a slash factor. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, like he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but I'm not really bought into him 100%. I know, like I said, I know Jake loves him, but I wasn't a big fan of him when they drafted him and, out of Purdue and then even now. But he doesn't make plays. He does make plays. Yeah. So, but again, Chris Jones to me is I think he makes more plays when Chris Jones is next to him.
Yeah.
And that's because Chris Jones gets more attention. So we'll see how it works.
Completely agree with what you're saying, Sean. But let's get into the players to watch for the Buffalo Bills on offense. Let's start with that. Can't mention, obviously, the obvious ones, but who's the X factors for you and the players to watch on the Buffalo Bills?
I think the tight ends are going to have a good day.
I like that. That's a good statement. So you're predicting a big day from both Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, which is I'm okay with.
Yeah, as a room, it could be like, it could be Knox has like 2 catches for 2 touchdowns, and then Kincaid has 10 catches for 100 yards. Like them together is going to be a good day.
Good question being brought up from Mad Chatter saying, is Khalil Shakir hurt? And he is not. He's actually
not that I know of.
Not on the injury report, so he will be active this week.
Emotionally, he might be. I don't know, but physically, he should be fine.
Let me bring up my player to watch on offense for the Buffalo Bills, which is going to be the man at the running back position. I'm big on the running backs this week on offense, so I think this is going to be a big day from James Cook. I think you're going to see him be a factor not only in the run game, but I think he's going to be a factor in the pass game. He's going to make some big catches and big moments, and he's going to be one of the reasons why the Bills come out of this game with a win. Matt Chatter also coming in with a comment asking, will Gabe show or be a drop happy?
No. Well, he was good last week, so probably drop happy today or tomorrow.
Hey, we'll see on that though. But
Usually
I
has one good game, then 2 to 3 bad ones, then he'll have one. So we're on the downtrend.
We'll see though. I think he's going to have a big game. I am confident in his ability. He plays good against Kansas City, so we'll see. Maybe he goes, instead of having 4 touchdowns, maybe he has 8 touchdowns.
Well, that'd be great.
That'd be great. But let's get into the defense and let's talk about our X factors for the Buffalo Bills on defense. Who do you got, Sean?
Ed Oliver and Doug. Oh, no, because Douglas is always good. The safeties, Hyde and Poyer, need to be lights out. They can't be making stupid mistakes and letting bum wide receivers who nobody even knows about slip behind you when you're the safety and supposed to make sure nobody gets behind you and score a touchdown. So they got to step up.
So I'm going to bring up a guy that's kind of been in the news lately. I don't like to get into people's personal business, what goes on off the field at all, but I'm going to mention a guy that needs to have a big game for the Buffalo Bills, and I believe he will have a big game for the team, and Von Miller. And I think he's going to be the X factor for me as far as how the Bills are going to be able to stop Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to go with Von Miller being the one that has his first sack this week against Patrick Mahomes, a big sack that's going to come on a 3rd down and a big moment for the Buffalo Bills. And then I'm also going to add in a important game and a big game from Rasul Douglas, who, we mentioned him a lot in saying how he's going to be a big factor in this game. But I think he's going to make a big impact this week. We get a couple comments from Matt Chatter coming in saying Grandpa Poyer, as well as I think Von Miller's leg is shot. I don't necessarily think that. It takes a while to get back from an ACL injury, especially your second one. But I think this is going to be a big game for him, and he's going to be back to being healthy. But, Sean, let's get into the last segment that we have here, which is going to be my favorite one so far. And let's get into this one. It's going to be the score predictions for the game. And who do you have winning this game and why?
It's going to be Buffalo 34-21. And why? Because we have no other choice. You got, this is like Dawkins said, kill or be killed. You should always be playing like that anyway. But this is where you really find out about this team in the rest of the season. So if they win today and win next week and then they lose to the Chargers, they weren't made for it. But if they can win out, get in the playoffs and do whatever they got to do, then this team's got resolve and grit and gets through adversity. And last year, and I complained about it last year, you guys, you Mike and Jake weren't on my side, but when we were winning these games in a bad fashion, everybody was happy with it. It was just a win. All that matters is the win. And then when it came down to the playoffs, we looked like crap and should have lost in the wild card, and then we got blown out in the divisional round. So if we can win these games near the end of the year this year, and we look good doing it, and we get into the playoffs, we'll be in a better situation than we were last year. So with them knowing that, them knowing the team they got, they want to play for their coach, all the stuff that happened with the 9/11 crap with McDermott, they want to play for him and get behind him. You'll see it. You'll see it Sunday or tomorrow. And we're better than the Chiefs. I don't care what the record says. We're more talented than they are.
Yep.
We have more weapons than they do on both sides of the football. We might not have a better coach, but definitely, have a better team. We should win this game.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree with you there. Let me go over the comments real quick. We have Bills fan CA saying Bills win by 1 or more points, which I think they will win by more than that. But I'm going to get into score predictions. We haven't done it in a couple of weeks. We've taken a little bit of a break on it. I predict the Bills are going to win one of those really close games. I think it's going to be like 35 to 31, somewhere in that range. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think the Bills come out of it with a win. But Sean, let's get into closing thoughts real quick. And we have a comment from Mad Chatter that I think is a great one because, this is a football channel, but I also think that when you have something that's very historic that happens in a sport, I think we also have to talk about it a little bit. And I know you're a baseball fan, and we saw one of the biggest contracts the biggest contract in MLB history go down today with the new contract that we have for Shohei Ohtani. And this is one of the biggest contracts ever, actually the biggest contract ever to happen. 10 years, $700 million contract that he signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, remember that the 2024 season will only be a season that he's going to be batting. He will not be pitching in 2024 after having Tommy John surgery, but you could see Shohei batting. And Sean, I want to get your thoughts on this move from Shohei, staying in the LA region, but also playing on a team in the Los Angeles Dodgers that are absolutely loaded right now.
Well, speaking on the Dodgers first, they're always loaded and they always choke. So this isn't, for me, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you got Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani. It's not going to matter. Even look at when he's on the Angels, you got Mike Trout, one of the best baseball players ever, and Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, that's a crappy team, but there's a big two right there, and it didn't do much for you. And he's not pitching, which is a big reason for his, why everyone thinks he's the greatest of all time already, which I also don't agree with.
No.
He's a good hitter, not $700 million worth. I was thinking maybe he'd get like 500 or 450 or something like that, but it's just he's never going to live. It's going to be impossible to live up to that because you just can't. Unless you win MVP every season, unless you win 5 or 6 World Series or 4 or 3 even in that 10-year span, it's going to be physically impossible to live up to that. And, people will still, even if he doesn't live up to it, everybody's going to say he's the best just because he can pitch and hit. So, again, he's great at both, but I don't think any athlete is worth $700 million.
Completely agree with you there.
But, good for him. Again, he's and here's the other thing, though, too, what people also don't understand. He's not going to be able to do that for 10 years straight. He's not going to be able to pitch and hit. Just like Travis Hunter, the prodigy out of Colorado. When he gets to the NFL, he might start playing corner and wide receiver, but as he gets older in his career, he's going to have to stop. So maybe in 5 years he stops pitching. You're still paying him $700 million, and he's going to be batting like 250 or 270, and I could have got a guy that hits 270 for $300 million. So it's just as good as he is at both. It's not going to be possible to do it for the length of that contract, and things happen. So luckily he can bat this year.
Yeah.
What happens if he gets Tommy John next or in 2 years?
Then you're
probably
done.
can't bat. So you're running the risk reward all the time. So it's I hope the best for him because again he's great for the game. I'm always against people calling everybody the greatest without their career being done.
Yeah.
Besides like Tom Brady, who played for 20 years, and you can obviously say, but guys like Mahomes and Ohtani, already people saying they're the greatest athlete of their of their respective sport. I just can't agree with. Because look at it this way: if Mahomes stopped playing football today, he wouldn't even be top 50 in touchdowns, yards, wins, anything. So he would not. If you just look at Super Bowls, Eli Manning had 2. Yep. So are they equals? No. But if you just look at rings, then I guess but stat wise, he wouldn't even be top 50 or nothing. So can't say he's the greatest of all time. But Ohtani, great player. It's just going to be hard for me to see that contract being worth it just because trying to do both for so long. I don't know if it'll last the 10 years doing both. And if it's just one, definitely not worth it. If it was $500 million, I would be like, oh, okay, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
But, I just think it's going to be possible to live up to that, no matter how
So
good he is.
let me just bring up a couple of factors. Okay. Number one is going to be his age. He's 29 years old. He's going to be 30 in July.
Yep.
So that's one of the biggest factors for me. This contract runs until he is just going to be 39. So, I mean, you know what happens when players get towards the end of their career. They don't live up to the contract. So this is probably let's say 6 years.
I know firsthand, trust me, with Steven Strasburg,
Yeah.
World Series MVP, signed him after we won, we signed him to a 7-year, $330 million contract. He pitched, I think, 7 games since 2019. He retired now because he kept getting injured. So
It's sad, but I mean that's what happens. But we'll see what happens as free agency goes on for the MLB, whether the Washington Nationals can make some moves, or for my Tampa Bay Rays, they're never going to make moves, but they're going to make trades. They're probably going to pull off a blockbuster trade for Tyler Glass now, and we'll see what happens though. But this is a question from Bills fan CA. Is this a guaranteed contract?
yeah, I think baseball is all fully guaranteed.
Yeah, I do believe it is fully guaranteed too as well.
And there's no cap in baseball because the owners pay for it out of their pocket, and from the revenue from the stadium basically, so they could sign 5 people to $700 million contracts if they wanted to.
I mean, there is a competitive luxury tax though, but I mean, it's like nothing. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
like that movie with the Oakland A's,
Moneyball
or whatever.
Yeah,
they had like no even the Oakland. Well, they're not Oakland anymore. The Vegas A's now. They have like their team together. Their cap together for their team was like $60 million for everybody on their roster put together last year. So it all depends on how much money you have as an organization. Like the Yankees, they could go buy a bunch of people. They got 26 world championships. So, they were able to buy as many people as they wanted because they were very rich and the money's always coming in. So it's not like football where you're given a certain amount of money to use. Baseball, it's like all the owners' money and they can do whatever they want. And that's how it goes.
So this is a good question. I'm going to bring it up for you real quick, Sean. Let me ask you this, okay? If you had the type of money like Shohei Ohtani is going to make, okay, and Bills fan CA is bringing it up, would you end world hunger with that type of money, or would you take the money and put it in your own pocket?
Well, 700 million. I don't know how much it would take to end world hunger, but you got to do something with it. More money, more problems. So, and you keep some. I mean, I could live off of $70 million the rest of my life. He gets $70 million a year for that contract. So I'm sure you take care of your own, take care of your family, take care of what, your houses and whatever, and then invest some, give some, donate some. But I don't know how much the money would have to be. But yeah, it's all about money. I mean, I'm sure other places with other good teams offered him contracts, and that's why LA offered him $700 million, because other teams would probably offered him 5 or 550, 575. And the Dodgers are a desperate franchise. They're always desperate, always trying to win, and they always fail. They won they won it when it was that 60-game COVID year, right? That was the last time they won in like 30 years.
And
they've always been good. They've always been good. They're always a 100-win team, and they always fail. Always fail. For what they got a couple championships, but in the last couple of decades, but for all the effort and money and investments they put into it, it's not a success. So they're basically the Buffalo Bills of baseball minus winning championships, because they're always there. They always got a good team for it.
No, I would say the team that's the one that reminds me the most of any team in the MLB is probably the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm going to be honest. Okay. Small town team that they always find a way to lose the big star players and moves on from them. And then they get to the postseason and they find a way to mess it up. And that's been the recipe for the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, they've been to the World Series twice. They went in 2008 and they went in I think it was it the COVID year? I believe it was the COVID year.
Yeah,
they
lost to the Dodgers.
Lost to the Dodgers. And then I think they went one more time after that too. So they've been, I want to say they've been 2 or 3 times. And correct me if I'm wrong, but they've been a couple times. They've lost it every single time, which sucks. And I mean, we've been so close. The only team that I've ever watched that I'm a fan of win a championship was the Syracuse Orange in 2004 when they won with Melo. That was the only one, and they beat Kansas, which was a big freaking game. So
yeah, let me tell you this real quick, just to prove my point about the Dodgers. They've won 7 world titles. One in 1955, 1959, 1963, 1965, 1981, 1988, and then 2020. So they've won once since 1988, and they've been one of the best teams in the league for the past 2 decades, and they just can't get it done. So they're like the Chargers too. Like Mike and Jake always think they're going to be good. Like the Chargers are going to be like 13-4, man. Watch out. I said they're always going to look good, and they always crumble. And here we go again.
Let's just factor this in, okay, real quick. And then we'll get into final thoughts. The Buffalo Bills have been around since 1960. Okay. They've had a franchise around for 63 years. Mm-hmm. If they would have played in the NFL or in the NFL merger would have happened a couple of years before, they would have had 2 Super Bowls already. Okay. If the Super Bowl became a thing 2 years earlier, 2 Super Bowl rings. Unfortunately, it didn't. The Bills have been to the playoffs so many times. They have not won it. They have not won the Super Bowl yet. The Tampa Bay Rays have been around for 25 years now. This was season 25. And it was 25 years, no Super Bowls, and no World Series. Actually, I'm sorry, 25 years, no World Series. Been to 2, lost 2. But if you're going at that record, the Bills and the Tampa Bay Rays kind of in that similar field. If you think back to 1990, the Bills went to their first Super Bowl. That was 30 years. Lost the first one, lost the second one, lost the third one, lost the fourth one. So we got a couple more years to go. And can the Rays get to the World Series 2 more times before season 34? That's all we need. We have 9 more years to make it to 2 more World Series to be able to be the same as the Buffalo Bills. All we need to do. So similar teams, we can say. But Sean, let's get back onto our main point. We got to get back to the Buffalo Bills, though, because we go on tangents and everything. But let's go over our final thoughts real quick. And Man Chatter's saying shout out to St. Petersburg, which I completely agree. Shout out to
I disagree.
It's a wonderful city that has a wonderful stadium, and they're going to be building a new one. So that's going to be great for Tampa Bay as well as the Rays to have. But let's get into our final thoughts real quick and jump over to that before we let everybody go and get back to our lives with our families and our wives.
Well, I mean, not much to really say anymore. Just got to make this bad season have a good outcome. I mean, it's all about how you finish something. And again, you can apply it to anything in life. If you start something bad and you finish it strong, that's what it's all about. So,
that's not what my dad told me. I mean, my dad always said, the saying for him was, if you start off shitty, you're going to end up shitty. That's pretty much what he says.
So what do you allow it to be? You can
No,
always change. You can always change a path or a course in anything. So
no. But I mean, that's just the way he always talked. But yeah, that's understandable. Bills fan CA coming in with some big knowledge here. I love what he's saying. Saying in 1967, the Bills played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship with a chance to go to the first ever Super Bowl. Chiefs won and lost to the Packers. Game was played in Buffalo. Chiefs Bills history goes back, which is great history that he brought up as well. I love what he's saying there. But Sean, I'm going to get into the closing thoughts for me. And, this rivalry has been, for the last few years, it's been a fun rivalry. I expect to see another big game, and I expect this one to be one of the most memorable games that we will see. But we got to get things right here. We got to get back on track and get some wins. We have this game here against the Kansas City Chiefs. Then we go back to Orchard Park, which is always an atmosphere. And you never know. This could be a big focal point in how the Bills can get back to the playoffs, especially if they play in Orchard Park when it is going to be cold. And hopefully it's going to be bad weather next week against the Dallas Cowboys so that we're able to run the ball quite a bit in that game. But we got to get back to playing Buffalo Bills football and get back on track. And we got to take it 1 week at a time, not focus on Dallas yet, but get back to normal football.
Yeah, and expect when the Bills win and Josh is 3-3 versus Mahomes, even though wins don't matter, but people like to, put the wins on the quarterback all the time. All the Chiefs fans and all the people that don't like the Bills are going to say, well, he's 0-2 in the playoffs. But just remember, this will be to even the series with Josh and Mahomes. It'll be 3-3. So.
Yeah. But Sean, real quick, I want to say, thank you so much for being on the show again for another Red, White, and Ruthless. Greatly appreciate you, man. We'll be back again for our next show on it'll be on Saturday for another episode of the Red, White, and Ruthless. But you can always find Sean and I on our channels. Nick, he is on Red, White, and Bills. I am on Go Bills Podcast. You can find us on YouTube and Instagram for both of us. I have more platforms that I can talk to you about. If you go to my website, gobillspodcast.com, you can find all of our upcoming shows that we will have throughout the week with collaborations on the Nickel City Mafia, as well as collaborations with Sean on there as well. But you can also check us out on Wednesdays for our weekly pick show on the Red, White, and Bills channel, which is another great show that we have. Check us out on there and drop your score predictions and predictions for each game, every single game that we're going to do. We also put the spreads up as well, which we will have next week on Wednesday at 9 o'clock. I got to get that right because I always say it's at 8:30, but it's actually at 9 o'clock now because we moved it back a little bit. So we're not competing with Nickel City Mafia for playtime. So we will see you again for another edition of the Red, White, and Ruthless Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Until then, go Bills.
Go Bills.